Liebe Freunde der Sonne, heute sitzen wir hier mit Barbara O'Neill. Viele von euch kennen sie schon. Wer sie noch nicht kennt, sie ist eine meiner größten Inspirationen. Barbara ist wunderbar im Thema Naturheilmittel, redet viel über den Darm, über Parasiten. Und wie ihr mich kennt, möchte ich sie heute ausfragen zu all diesen Themen. Was sind ihre Lieblingsnaturheilmittel? Was macht sie mit dem Darm? Was macht sie mit Parasiten? Was ist mit Impfungen? Praktische Lösungen, Routinen für morgens und abends. Das ist das erste Mal, dass ihr Barbara O'Neill im deutschen Bereich hören wird. Barbara ist auch gleichzeitig, manche kennen sie als die Großmutter in der Gesundheitsszene. Barbara wird in Deutschland sein, in Berlin, ab dem 21. April bis zum 25. April. Sie wird Live-Vorträge geben über die Niere, über den Darm, über Diabetes, über Osteoporose, also über alle diese Themen und alles mit Heilmitteln, über die Ärzte eben nicht sprechen. Das klingt wie so ein Hook, aber das ist die Realität. Ich habe das Event für euch unten markiert. Ich werde auch versuchen, bei dem Event da zu sein. Wir werden das Interview in Englisch abhalten. Ihr könnt das Ganze aber auf Deutsch anhören, damit ihr von den Informationen profitiert. Es wird ein super spannendes Interview. Es geht um Kinder, es geht um diese ganzen Themen. Barbara hat auch 2 sehr tolle Bücher geschrieben. Self-Heal by Design und das andere Buch ist Sustain Me. Das erste Buch geht in Richtung Darm, in Richtung Parasiten. Das zweite Buch eher in Richtung Ernährung. Beides wirklich extrem gute Bücher. Ich bin seit 10 Jahren Fan von ihr. Und damit würde ich sagen, starten wir direkt rein. Barbara, you're one of the more controversial health educators. I'm a long-term fan of your views, and I think that you changed the life of many people that have seen you and heard you talk. There are other people that say that you're dangerous, mostly the establishment, I would say. What do you think is something that people misunderstand about you?
There's been a lot of rumors around me, and people say to my husband, why have they banned Barbara in Australia? And he said, oh, she's just getting people to drink more water and go to bed earlier. No, I'm still waiting to hear why I'm dangerous.
Yeah. That's a good answer, and I think that's the advice that doctors they can't really do much with it. I think that's not something they learn much in their education. Their education is mostly pill pushing, like getting people to take more medicine. Are there drugs that you fundamentally do not believe in, and why?
I don't believe in drug therapy because drugs never cure disease. They mask symptoms, but they do not cure. And there are times when masking symptoms may be appropriate and may be necessary. So when I broke my arm 2 years ago, my radius was totally broken and out of place. I was very thankful for the skill of the orthopedic surgeon that pulled it back into place. I was very thankful for the pain-killing medication so I didn't feel him pull it back into place. There's no doubt about it that in a crisis, drugs may be necessary, but the problem is they've spilled over into everyday life. And it's happened so slowly and so little by little that people don't seem to realise that it's actually a very, unnatural thing to do, to take a drug when you get sick. When you get sick, the body's actually saying, excuse me, I've got a problem here. Can you do some things to this body so that I can get better? And that's, of course, what I do. I come in with the simple, basic lifestyle habits that our body requires to function well and that our body requires to get better. So I'm not totally against medicine. I'm so very glad for the general anaesthetic today. If someone's in a car accident or, it may be necessary. There's no doubt about that. But I teach people that their body is the healer, and let's find out how it heals and what it needs.
Self-heal by design. I like that. I like that dogma. Like let's start with the short-term issues. If somebody comes to you and says, I have a flu, I have a respiratory problem, what do you think is something he should start with or he could do? Of course, everything we talk about, it's not medical advice and so on. Like just a medical disclaimer. It's just our opinions, but just as a heads up.
Absolutely, it's just our opinion. I don't tell anyone what to do. I just give information. If someone has a cold, I say, praise God. Do you know what a cold is? It's a house clean. That's what it is. It's a house clean. And one dear friend of mine that ran retreats for many years, he said, when cancer people came, he found that they don't get colds. They don't get their regular house cleans. And when you're cleaning your house, you use a lot of water. Water in, water out. So the best thing to do when you get a cold is to eat very lightly, if at all, maybe just a little bit of fruit. Go to bed, lay yourself on nature's operating table called sleep. And get fresh air and just let your body go through the process of house cleaning. And all the blowing of your nose and coughing up lumps, rejoice. Where was it before you blew it out and coughed it up? You see, it's looking at disease in a totally different light. Looking at in the light that maybe this is not our enemy, maybe it's our friend. And you look at children, they regularly get colds. That's part of their immune system building up. It's nothing to fear. The only time we need to fear it is when we interfere with the body's process of going through that house clean. So what would interfere with it? Drugs would. You see, drugs are like robots. They come into the body and say, get out of my way, I've got a job to do, whether you need it or not. Whereas herbs and simple water treatments. And Germany is actually famous for its history on water treatments. You know, I go to every park in Germany and there's a Kneipp water walk. Love it. We've got the textbook the nurses used to learn, which is Abbott's Hydrotherapy for Nurses. Nurses used to learn these simple treatments. So what I suggest is not new. I'm just going back to the old way.
Yeah. I fully agree with you. I think Germany has a very rich history in these natural treatments. I also believe that in Germany, the people are very split. Like there are some people that highly believe in letting the body heal by itself and using herbs and using sun and using water. And then there's other people that are very aggressively against this. And they very much want everybody to get as many vaccinations as possible, as many drugs as possible. And they also are scared of the sun. They love sunscreen. They are scared of everything natural pretty much. It's crazy to see this. That's why I think people like you are very important, because you kind of bring back nature. Like it's not like you discovered nature. It's just you're bringing it back to the people, which I love. You mentioned sleep quite a lot when you talked about this, and you also mentioned water. I often get the question, what water should you drink, Fabian? What's good water? Do you drink plastic bottle water? Do you use water filters? What's your opinion on water, Barbara?
Well, I am most blessed to be living out in the country, and we have the most beautiful water here. And you see this water, I'm actually very spoilt with this water because it just tastes so beautiful. So yes, I recognise everyone cannot live the way I live, and I do travel quite a bit. So when I'm travelling, I just get the best water I can. That sometimes that is bottled water, and if I was living in the city, I would get a water filter, and probably the water filter that is the best would be the reverse osmosis, because that can get the fluoride out. So depending on where you are, what you can do, what you have, it is, yes, it's important to drink water, but it's important to have good water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Barbara, the one topic that I, at least on the social media, the short form social media forms, I hear you talk a lot, and also I remember from your first book, Self-Heal by Design, a lot is parasites, bacteria, and mold. These three keywords, and I feel that doctors very rarely talk about either of them. Like, I mean, they just tell us bacteria are dangerous and parasites pretty much are not an issue, don't exist, and mold, just nobody talks about this in general. Do you think these are a big issue in modern chronic disease? Do you think people overestimate it, underestimate it?
I think that it's a pity to blame them for disease, because my question is, well, why are they there? You see, when you look at the role of microorganisms on the planet, they're the cleanup team, they're the garbage collectors. So if you can keep your body working well, there's really no place for them. And that is an issue. I think to blame disease on parasites is not looking at the real issue. And I actually have never given a lecture on parasites, but I was shown a lecture by me and I couldn't tell it wasn't me, but I said, that's not me. I haven't given that lecture. Yeah. Yes, parasites can be an issue if the colon's not working regularly. Dr. Kellogg, very famous doctor who wrote, encyclopedias on health, he said 3 intakes of food a day should equal 3 evacuations a day. If the person's going once a week, then that's perfect ground for bacteria, for yeast, fungus, for parasites, because they're the cleanup team. And if someone has animals in their home, now this is a very touchy subject. You see, animals do carry parasites. So if someone does have animals in their home, they really should go on probably a parasite cleanse every month, especially if they're in the bed or in the kitchen. But if they're animals that they haven't that close a contact, maybe they can get away with a parasite cleanse every 6 months. So I always look at the whys, and Unfortunately, in medicine today, the whys aren't really looked at because I guess if you look at the whys, it might be side effect from other medication. And yes, you can't really blame the genes. The science today is saying you can only blame 5% on the genes. And no, you can't blame the microbes because they're just opportunist organisms. So in every place, I get back to what are you doing to your body? What are you doing to your body? Because our bodies were designed to heal, and if they're not healing, we need to find out why. We need to look at where are you living, what's your contact, how are you drinking, how are you eating, because it all contributes to what's happening in our body.
So to paraphrase, you believe or hold a strong opinion that parasites and bacteria in general are not enemies. They kind of coexist with us. They're here to clear out debris, eat each other, and kind of live in a symbiosis with us. But there can be imbalances if you, for example, have a pet or have other conditions. You could have too many parasites. What would be a parasite cleanse that you believe is a good way for people?
Well, a well-known group of herbs that have been used for probably centuries is black walnut and wormwood. You would never drink a tea of those because they're so bad. And also clove essential oil, but they can be bought in a tablet form. They can be bought in a capsule form, and probably the basic protocol would be take it 3 times a day for 2 weeks, stop for 2 weeks, and then do it again for another 2 weeks so that any little babies that are hatching out of eggs can be wiped out again. So you're looking then at 6 weeks, 2 on, 2 off, 2 on.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Are there side effects for people? Is there groups that you say should never do this, like pregnant people, mothers who are breastfeeding? Is it more touchy? I get these questions a lot. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, they go really over the top in safety, I think, today. But I think it is wise to be a little cautious around pregnancy and breastfeeding because you're not pregnant forever and you're not breastfeeding forever. So
That's true.
there is a time.
Some people are breastfeeding long time. So my wife, like we got the first baby, she's still breastfeeding that one, and now there's another one, and there's like I think she's breastfeeding now for like something like 3 years, 3.5 years. So some people they do it. Can happen.
That's really great to hear, Fabian. I was breastfeeding all pregnant, nonstop, 14 years, I think.
Crazy.
And look, I'm still alive and enjoying life.
That's nice. God bless. I definitely want to. I have some questions for pregnancy and infants later on. But first, I want to finish up this topic that we started. You talked about bacteria and parasites. What do you think about mold? Is it a thing that you watched in the last years? An issue?
Oh yes, very, very much so. In fact, I worked as the health director at our retreat for 23 years and stopped probably in about 2019. And I wrote my book, Self-Heal by Design, which is the subheading is the true role of microorganisms in disease. And it really is about mold because it surprised me how many people are ignorant on the dangers of mold. I also looked at the history. I've even looked at the Bible, and the Bible says if there's mold in the house, destroy it. If there's mold in the clothes, burn them. This dangerous stuff. In fact, Doug Kaufman, he has a television program in America called Know the Cause, and he's written I couldn't tell you how many books on the subject, even showing the link between some cancers and fungus. This is bigger than most people realize, and that's why I wrote my book. But the good news is the steps to eradicate it from the body are quite simple.
Can you tell us? What?
I certainly can. The first one is to stop. Stop the cause. Make sure there's no mold in your house. Make sure that you have no exposure to it. And the second step is deprive it of its favourite food, and its favourite food is sugars and yeast. And also take some herbs like olive leaf extract, grapefruit seed extract, portiaco. There's a variety of herbs that are able to wipe out the fungus and yet won't wipe out you. So that's my simple formula. Starve, meaning stop anything that that could contribute it. Kill with the herbs, and starving also meaning dietary wise. So in my book Self Heal by Design, I've got the antifungal protocol there. I list the herbs.
I can highly recommend. I will also link it down. I'm not sure if there's a German translation of the book. I read it in English a few years ago.
There is.
There's a German one. Okay, then we will link the German one. That's nice. You just said we should all burn down our house. We should also get rid of our cats for the parasites and burn down our house. Do you really think there's no way to get rid of mold? I think there's different kinds, like white mold, black mold, different.
Fabian, there certainly is. You know, sometimes it's a leaking tap behind the wall, and you might have to pull the wall out, fix the leaking tap, destroy anything that's been harmed. I don't think you necessarily have to burn the house down. Although, unfortunately, I have met people that have said their house was condemned. And this was after the whole family had been sick for 2 years. And it was behind walls and in roofs that they didn't realise it. And they got out of the house. Thankfully, it was covered by insurance, and everyone started to heal.
Yeah. I know these stories as well. I think some houses actually, like, without being sarcastic, they're just built in a way and built on a place or a spot where they will always get mold back, and like you can clean it, you can do everything, but you pretty much need to do new insulation, new everything, and change the location to not make the house mold again. That's
right. We really have to talk to our builders.
Yeah, honestly, it's really important.
You know, the drainage, and the waterproofing of the bathrooms, all of that.
Yeah. Completely agree. I mean, in general, in Germany, they just outlawed lead pipes in 2026. And until now, I think still 20 or 30% of houses, they have full lead pipes. So all the drinking water always gets heavy metals in huge amounts. And people say, nah, whatever, but you measure it and it's crazy amounts. Like, people are completely full of heavy metals. So they just stopped this, at least. But it's
know what they're finding? They're finding that's contributing to heart disease because it's damaging the walls of the artery. That's the lead. I mean, it's only a few years ago they stopped the lead in fuel. So people were getting doses of it just walking down the street.
Yeah. Well, honestly, that's crazy. Like, we should look at our houses. What do you think is something that one could do to improve the house quality? Like, we talked about lead, we talked about mold. Is there something else we could do for our house to make it better? Like air filters, or what do you think?
It must be high, must be dry, must be well ventilated.
Dry.
The ventilation is very important, and the drainage away of the water and the waste. And I'm a greenie, love plants, as you can see by my friend here, but keep the plants away from the house because that stops the air and the sunshine getting in. So that's important. But also, what's important in the house, you see, we have a series, it's a DVD series called Is Your House Killing You? And it explores all of this.
Interesting.
And also paints. Some of the paints that people use are toxic. So yeah, there are many ways. Sometimes even air conditioners, they need to have the outlet in fresh air. The filters need to be checked regularly. Oxygen is the most vital element needed for life, and when we're breathing in stale air, moldy air, that can be a contributing factor to disease.
You said yourself you're living on 450 acres, a huge. Is it like a farm type of thing, or how can I imagine it? Or
well, probably maybe it's sort of half cleared, half bush. And we have a health retreat.
That's where your retreat also is. Cool.
Yes, we have 22 guests at the moment. I don't work here, but we have a great team that are busy tending our guests. Busy time of the year is January. Everyone wants to get well after Christmas.
I know. And then in like March they forget about it, and then in December they don't care at all anymore. Yeah, it's a little bit sad. Interesting. That's the Misty Mountain retreat, right?
That's right, Misty Mountain.
Misty Mountain, cool. I heard about that. One day I'm gonna come there. We had the topic. Now we finished the topic with the house, with the mold. At least a little bit. Everybody who wants to know more about mold, definitely check out Self Heal by Design. If somebody comes to you with gut issues, like let's say they're always bloated, they're inflamed, maybe even something that doctors call autoimmune. In Germany, we have this leaky gut, Reizdarm. 30% of people have this, Reizdarm. It's a huge issue and nobody knows why, and you cannot do anything against it. What's the first thing you would tell these people?
The first thing I'll look at is when did it start? And also look at the diet. and I'll look at their eating habits. You see, our stomach takes 3.5 to 4 hours to digest a meal, then it loves a 1 hour rest. A lot of people are just eating too much. So choose my heart to see, time-restricted eating is claimed as the best way to eat at the moment in the nutrition world, and that came out of the 5-2 diet, came out of the intermittent fasting. So leaving a rest between meals. The old way of eating every 2 hours, grazing, has been proved to just overwork the stomach, so it could be overworking the stomach. In the 1950s, wheat was hybridized. It was put through an extensive crossbreeding program to produce a plant with a high yield of grain, but in the process, it changed the starch structure, it changed the gluten structure. So you now have a grain that's very difficult to digest. So that can be a contributing factor to bloating too. So there can be a few factors, and one habit of drinking with the meals. You see, we need nice, strong hydrochloric acid to break our food down, but if we're drinking huge amounts with a meal, that interferes again with the digestion process. So I always investigate. I see myself as a private investigator, investigating why these things are so, because there's always a reason.
Detective Barbara O'Neill. So to paraphrase it, you suggested fasting. I want to go a little bit deeper into the topic of fasting. And you also suggested cutting out some food groups. One food group you mentioned is wheat because of all the genetic playing with the wheat. Before we go with the fasting, are there other foods that you think many people are sensitive to but don't know it or don't think about it?
Well, there are 5 foods that we do not use at our retreat. It doesn't mean these foods are bad. Some people eat them and don't have any problem. But if someone's got an issue, these are the first 5 foods that we cut out. One is wheat, another is dairy. And there's a huge difference between the organic raw milk and the milk in the supermarket. But really, milk's for babies, Cow's milk's great for baby calves, but I do recognise there are 5th-generation dairy farmers that handle it very well. So do you see what I mean? If I've learned anything in my many years on the planet, it's not to be absolute. But when someone's got a problem, we advise they stop the wheat, they stop the dairy, they also stop oats. Oats are high in a plant chemical called lectins, and lectins can increase inflammation. Now, my sons, I got 3 sons that have oats every single day. I love them. But they don't have a health problem. But with a health problem, oats is the other food that we suggest cutting out. Peanuts are commonly contaminated with mold. So that's another one we suggest ceasing, and refined sugar. Refined sugar is like kerosene to a fire on any inflammation or issue in the body. So we suggest stopping those 5 food groups. We also explain, because this can be difficult, that it can take 2 months before you see the full effect of stopping those foods. A slice of bread will be out of your body in 24 hours, but the effect can remain for nearly 2 months. Now, in the next breath, I must say that one of the things I love about Germany, yes, I love your sauerkraut, but also your breads, because in Germany, no matter where I go in Germany, they have that beautiful dark sourdough bread. Now, you can get bread that's a little too dark and a little bit too sour and a little bit too heavy. But as a rule, I love your bread. So I think that Germans do a lot of rye. And I know Germans also do a lot of spelt. And I know you call it dinkel. Now, that has not been hybridized. It's the wheat that's been hybridized.
Okay, that's very interesting. So wheat, dairy, peanuts because of mold. That's a very interesting one. Oats. Oats is a topic that really the Germans they get very angry. I talked about oats also. Oats, you said about the lectins. It also has the phytic acids. Also, from what I known, and I seen tests that there's lots of pesticides used in oats. That's one of the reasons why they can produce them in such high quantities for so cheap. Like here, you can get like a kilo of oats for less than €1. Like it's dirt cheap.
And you see, traditionally, people would, I know the Scots, they would soak the oats all day and cook them on the wood stove overnight. That disarms the lectins. So people are having quick oats, they're not preparing them the way that they should. So that's another issue again.
Yeah, I fully agree. And also, I think sprouting is a great way of reducing, like both sprouting and cooking well. If you do these 2 things, then I think they're way more digestible. But I completely agree with you. I think it's a good...
That's absolutely right. Sprouting, there's a third, sprouting, slow cooking, and culturing.
Yeah.
Like in the sourdough, in the sauerkrauts.
Yeah. That sounds good. Now the Germans will love you that you said you love the bread and the sauerkraut.
So they haven't all run away from me because of what I said on oats. And that's why I say my boys eat oats, they love oats. So no, oats aren't bad. It's only when they're grown with herbicides, insecticides, where they're not prepared properly, and if someone has an issue.
And that's a very interesting fact. And I also believe that's 100% true. You have to look at your own situation and also test out things. There's some people genetically, they do very well with dairy. And there are some people, no matter what, they drink some milk and they get acne. Like it's just in their genes. And
That's right. And that brings us to another topic, Fabian, which is very important. I believe we all should be our own doctors because only we know how we feel, only we know how we react. And our body can tell us what no man can tell us. So it's inspiring people to start believing in their bodies and listening. If a food doesn't sit well, don't eat it again. It's as simple as that.
That's a very good thing. We should be our own doctors. Barbara, before I forget about this, you talked about fasting, and I highly believe in fasting. What's the fasting protocols that you had the best experiences with? What do you believe is the way we should start with this?
Well, we've been running the retreats now for 27 years. And so we've got a protocol that works very, very well. It's tried and true. And we do 2 days on juices, our guests do. Our guests come in on Sunday. We give them a beautiful lunch. We say so they've got something to dream about for 2 days. And then Monday, Tuesday, it's just juices. And then Wednesday morning, they begin to eat again. And we find that works very, very well. If someone comes for 2 weeks, they'll do that twice. We had one lady, she's here at the moment. This is her 3rd week. She's here for 4 weeks. She's from Canada, and she will do that fasting every week.
And what juices will be consumed on the 2 days?
Well, the main juice that we serve is 80% carrot, 10% apple, 10% celery. It's called the vegetarian's milk. You can just about subsist on that. And I've known 2 mothers that gave that to their babies because they couldn't have any milk. So that's our main juice. Now, some juices we'll do a bit less carrot and add some beetroot. Some juices we add cucumber, a bit less carrot. Some we'll do a bit less carrot, a bit more apple, and put a lot of greens in. So it's like variations. But the 80% carrot, 10% celery, 10% apple, that's our basis.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Carrot, I think, is a fantastic food because it also, at least Dr. Ray Peat talked about this, it also binds excess estrogens, which is one of the bigger issues, I think. And do you think there's also other ways of fasting? Do you believe in intermittent fasting, water fasting, dry fasting?
I'm reading a book on dry fasting at the moment. I've never advocated, but what this lady presents is very interesting. She shows that, our cells have got so much water in them that when we dry fast, a system called autophagy begins, which is the bad cells, if you call them bad, or the damaged cells. They're the first to be broken down. And because there's so much water in them, she maintains that the body certainly can effectively do dry fasting. I listen to that. I think it's interesting, but I certainly am an advocate of water because, we need water to wash away the waste. Intermittent fasting, I think that came out of the 5-2 diet, and of course the time restricted eating came out of that, which is eating twice 6 hours apart in a 24-hour period. So that's about an 18-hour fast every 24 hours. That's an easy fast, and that's what our guests do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Monday, Tuesday, they have nothing solid, and every 2 hours we serve a juice. And then from Wednesday on, we give them breakfast at 7:30. We give them lunch at 1:30, and that's a main meal. And then at 6:30 at night, we serve a thin soup, which is like a broth. We cook a lot of vegetables, stinging nettles and carrots and all sorts of things in there. Then we strain it, and then they drink that. And one of the reasons for that is that when they do the steam saunas every afternoon, they're perspiring a lot, so they are losing some minerals, and the broth replaces the minerals. So the time-restricted eating, I got excited when I heard them talking about it because I thought, that's what we've been doing this way for a long time, and it's the old adage, we should eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, tea like a pauper. One lady said, what do paupers eat? I said, sometimes nothing.
Yeah.
That's a easy fast, because when you would be hungriest, you're sound asleep.
Your guests, they're vegetarian while they're with you, or do they also eat meat? They don't eat the 5 food groups, at least. I understand.
No, we don't serve meat at all.
No meat.
We serve all plants.
All plants. Are you yourself vegetarian or vegan?
I'm mostly vegan. I don't call myself vegan because I soon discovered that chemicals are vegan, cheap seed oils are vegan. I called myself a plant-based lady.
Understand. Yeah, I think plant-based is a more, I don't know, it sounds more friendly. Vegan sounds so dogmatic, I feel.
It does. I was at a function, I think it was in Wales, and they were all plant-based. They call themselves vegan. I don't use that word. And there was carrot cake for dessert with this white fluff on top. I said, what's that? They said, Barbara, it's vegan. I know cow's cream, I know coconut cream, but what's that? And then they brought this spray can, and I looked at the ingredients, cheap seed oils, chemicals, sugars. I said, I'll just have the carrot cake, thanks. And it was from then on, I never called myself vegan.
That's a good reasoning. No, I understand this. In Germany, there's also they're really militant about veganism. Do you not eat meat for health reasons or ethical reasons?
Oh, for several reasons. I haven't eaten meat for, this would probably be over 40 years now that I haven't eaten meat. But that said, my son caught some fish once, and I had a little bit of that, but I've not eaten red meat or chicken for that long. I'm also very mindful of the conditions of the animals. I'm mindful that an animal has to die for me to eat some meat. I'm also very mindful that when the animal is killed, they have to work very hard and very fast because the animal starts to break down, so to be able to preserve it so that it can be eaten healthfully. In the next breath, I must say I have met some very healthy people who are meat eaters. They're organic. They only eat organic meats, and I've met some very sick vegetarians who eat too much seed oils and too much wheat. So I recognize that. As I said before, I don't tell anyone what to do. I just give information.
In the last 2 minutes, you mentioned seed oils quite a lot. Maybe just to paraphrase, so you're a vegetarian for many years now, and maybe even plant-based, let's call it like that. And but you also believe that one could be healthy if they're eating quality meat, and one also could be sick if they're eating shitty quality plant-based, like seed oils. What's your stance on seed oils in general?
I think they're incredibly dangerous. Very dangerous. In fact, I do not touch them. I was with my 2 little grandchildren in the supermarket yesterday because we stayed out the night, and we bought some crackers. And I said, have a look, kids, we will buy nothing with canola oil. Canola oil's been genetically modified, but these cheap seed oils, it was probably over 100 years ago, about the Industrial Revolution, where high heat and chemical equipment was developed to be able to extract oil from hard seeds. And that very extraction process damages the oils, even to the point that they become carcinogenic. So the 2 oils that I eat are olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, and in some dishes, and for some reasons, I might eat some coconut oil. Now, they're the 2 plant oils that have been used for centuries, and they were eaten long before heart disease was ever became prominent. But I think most people realise today that it's not fat that causes heart disease. But there is one fat that is a contributing factor, and it's those cheap seed oils, because they even have the ability to damage the arterial walls. So in that way, they are actually contributing to heart disease.
Seed oils is a funny topic in Germany. I wrote a book about this 2 years ago. And this is the topic that the government, they are attacking me about mostly. Like, I talk about many controversial things, but seed oils is the one. Whenever I mention this, there's documentaries about me, why I'm crazy because seed oils are so healthy. They're the best oil. They have omega-6. We need so much omega-6. And there's studies proving they're healthy. Like that's the main topic people attack me. It's crazy.
What they don't realize is that if they're extracted using heat, all the omega-3s and the omega-6s, omega-9s, they're all totally damaged because they're heat sensitive. Yeah.
That's the issue. Do you think that In Germany, there's some offers of cold pressed rapeseed oil, cold pressed other seed oils, cold pressed. Do you think they're less harmful, or would you include them in your diet, or would you still say there's better?
I don't include them in my diet, but they certainly are less harmful because it is the heat that is quite damaging. And I also recognise in some European countries, the sunflower oil has been also used in some areas even more than the olive oil, because it's a soft seed, so it's not hard to extract oil out of that. So if I'm buying a product, like with my grandchildren, sunflower oil is one oil that I will probably, I'll buy it if it's that in it, but I will not buy the canola oil.
Mhm. Interesting. I mean, me personally, I would not buy any of the seed oils. I don't trust them. They're in Germany. They cost also, again, they're €1, and usually you get what you pay for in life. If it's extremely cheap, there's a reason. Like, they want to make profit. They don't want you to. They want to
No,
get. Like,
no.
that's how it
I say
works,
to
right?
people, when you go into those supermarkets, you walk straight past those cheap seed oils.
Mm.
You don't touch them.
Yeah, it's a good advice. When do you use coconut oil? And like you said, for some reason, sometimes you use coconut oil. Is it a specific reason?
Well, one of the beauties of coconut oil is that it's maybe in the oven, it's better. I made a banana bread for lunch today because I've got grandchildren here, and I used half coconut oil, half olive oil, and it gives a nice flavor and texture. And I also use the coconut oil. We do some really delicious frozen desserts, and we use coconut oil a little in them. I also use coconut oil most days for oil pulling, which is putting the coconut oil in your mouth, swishing for about 10 minutes and then releasing it out. So I use it probably more like that. But on my bread or in my cooking, I love the olive oil, but I always put the olive oil in right at the end of my cooking because it is a little heat sensitive, not as heat sensitive as others.
Mhm. No, I fully agree with you. Right now, I'm in Thailand, and here's I can see many coconuts growing right in front of me. So now here we use a lot of coconut oil, coconut milk, coconut water. But I agree with you. I think olive oil also is the best oil for being used in salads and stuff. We kind of touched a little bit on this topic, and I'm really curious also for myself because I have two of them regarding infants. What's your view on infant nutrition in general? I mean, I assume it's breastfeeding, but if somebody comes to you and says, "I can't breastfeed, Barbara, I cannot breastfeed," what do I do?
Well, if they can't say that, I'm always intrigued because when I was in Papua New Guinea, I was giving meetings one day and there's this 50-year-old woman who'd taken a street baby, breastfeeding it, a 52-year-old woman. And I approached her, I said, "So you're raising this street baby, but you're breastfeeding?" She said, "Well, at first I had to supplement, but I just keep putting the baby on, and the more the baby sucks, the milk comes." Isn't that interesting? And I give that story to show that I believe most women would be able to, but I too recognise some women don't want to. Some women have to go back to work. So the next best is the goat's milk. Now, even though I'm an Australian, we all grew up with the story of Heidi. Heidi in the Swiss Alps with Peter the goat herd, and her cousin Clara came up from the city and she got better on the goat's milk. You know, goat's milk's been used for centuries, but it is one area where I'm getting attacked under. And my husband investigated. He said, what is the matter with goat's milk? And the authorities said, it could be lethal. And Michael said, well, where's the evidence that it has ever killed a baby? And they said, well, while there's no evidence, it could be. So it's crazy. It makes no sense at all. But you look at the size of a baby kid and the size of a baby human, very similar. Whereas look at the size of a baby cow and a baby human, there's a big difference. But I also do acknowledge that in a fifth generation dairy farmer, they've got the enzymes in the gut and their little ones can usually handle it. But I've met a lot of ladies whose babies had eczemas and asthmas and allergies, and they were advised to put the baby on goat's milk, and they did well and they recovered from their allergies.
Cool. So to paraphrase, the first thing is try it more. Like try putting the baby on, putting it on, and it will work after a while. This was, by the way, the same experience for my wife. Like when we had the first baby, the nurses, the first thing I remember this to this day that they told her was, no, you have flat nipples. You will never be able to breastfeed.
Oh, no.
And then I was like, Gamze, I do not believe this. I don't think that God made you the wrong way to breastfeed. It doesn't make any sense. And then she just tried, and after 2 days, she was very, oh no, it won't be enough. What do we do? Should we supplement? I was, no, try it out again. It was very stressful, of course. First baby, first, it's how it is. It was also during Corona. I wasn't even allowed in the hospital and had to wear a mask, and it was very crazy. Okay, but we just kept on trying, and then after like I think the third day it worked, and then fifth day it was perfect, and now she's still breastfeeding 3.5 years later. So that was ridiculous. Like the nurses discouraged her actively. No, you will not be able to. Like, what the fuck?
And that's why I say to mothers, trust your instinct. And the authorities sometimes get it wrong. But I have to give a wonderful little comment on here. I've heard about this in a few countries. There were teams of midwives who were secretly home birthing babies through COVID.
No, the midwives, they're fantastic here in Germany. That's why the authorities, they don't like them, but they actually encourage she even gave us books about vaccinations. She told us no breastfeeding. Like they're doing a wonderful job. Honestly, it's very, very important profession.
It is, and that breast milk, especially in those first 3 days, is very high in colostrum, and that's essential to the building of the baby's immune system.
Yeah, it does so many things. I think I even believe that we don't really know what else is inside the breast milk. I think like there might be factors like growth factors and immune factors and cells that
there certainly is, and also what they know a little bit, and that is that it releases mothering hormones. How nice is that? And when you think about it, the first week the milk is perfect for the baby. And when the baby is 1 year old, the milk is perfect for the baby. The milk adjusts at every single age for that baby. Yeah. God did not make a mistake. He made that milk perfect.
It even has immune factors. Like if the baby is sick, then there's immune cells extra to like it's crazy. So we have the first advice was try it more, believe in yourself. And the second is goat's milk. Do you supplement the goat's milk with anything, or it's just pure goat's milk, raw goat's milk? What's the goat's milk?
Just goat's milk. Now, goat's milk. I have been really attacked about the raw goat's milk. I have probably two daughters-in-laws who gave their babies the goat's milk. You can get goat's milk formula in Australia. And that's what the authorities would like me to say. And where I was really attacked, where someone asked me about raw goat's milk in a meeting. And I said, well, as long as the goat is healthy and as long as the equipment is sterile and looked after, no problem. And that's what they took me down on.
Crazy. That's, by the way, there's two things I get attacked on. I told you about the seed oils in Germany. And the second part is raw milk. Like I also, I was very careful because I know it's illegal to advise raw milk. So I always said, I drink raw milk. My son drinks raw milk. Please don't do it at home. It's dangerous, even though it's not dangerous. It's only dangerous if the cow is living in dirty conditions. But I was very careful, but that's what they attacked me. Like seed oils and raw milk, these things, you cannot talk about it. It's illegal.
We have got common sense. It's not very common today. But, the raw milk was being sold in Victoria for a while in Australia, and it was called Cleopatra bath milk, not fit for human consumption. And they got away with that for a couple of years, but then they went after them.
That's so sick. Like that's
crazy. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. When you look at what they're doing to babies as soon as they're born, and yet they claim that that's unsafe. It's crazy.
A little bit more sensitive topic, but regarding vaccinations, I mean, I'm not talking about the COVID vaccine. I think everybody now, even in Germany, knows that was ridiculous. But like the normal vaccinations, what's your advice there? Should somebody read a book? Should they use common sense? Should we?
Notice what I just said. They say raw milk's dangerous, and yet look what they're doing to babies as soon as they're born. They're putting needles in their arms that have got toxic potions in them. It's just outrageous. I think it was Robert Kennedy Jr. that claimed that 50% of our children are sick today. And that is one big contributing factor. If the body was designed to heal itself, we don't need to do that. It was designed to heal itself. So if people say, Barbara, what should I do? I don't tell anyone what to do, but I say to them, go to the chemist and get a printout of exactly what is in that. Or you can go to Dr. Sherry Tenpenny and go to her website, and she will give you in very fine detail description of exactly what is in those vaccines. And once a parent looks at that, they do not want that in their baby. And if a parent is still unsure, maybe they're getting pressure, your baby's going to die, your baby's going to get sick, it's not true. If they don't do it, then say to the person that's going to administer it, would you sign this piece of paper saying that you will be accountable if anything happens to my baby? No baby would be vaccinated if every parent did that. And we have a responsibility to care for our children, to know exactly what's going in. And for too long, there's been it's actually a scary trust that's put in the medical profession. I'm not against doctors. Some of my best friends are doctors. It's the system. See, I believe most doctors are ethical, but it's time for the doctors to stop trusting the pharmaceutical companies. They just trust that the studies have been done. And there's been many whistleblowers that have shown the studies have not been done. They're still selling drugs that they know is dangerous. It's time for us to take control. This is the last bastion we have, is our body. And God's government is a government of freedom, and freedom is based on free choice. It's our God-given right to say, no, thank you, I don't want that. And it's a parent's God-given right to say, no, thank you, my baby won't be having that. But it's time for parents to stand up and take control, find out what's in them.
And even though you said we still have the freedom of choice, in Germany, actually, you do not have the freedom of choice. Like, there are some vaccinations, if you do not have them, then your kid is not allowed in some institutions. And if you don't give them, I think there's also some possibilities that you as a parent get fined 2,000 euros per month until the kid gets vaccinated or you leave the country. Like, it's enforced.
Unbelievable. I'm alarmed when I hear that. Alarmed. I chose to homeschool my children, and I really encourage parents to do that. But apparently that's illegal in Germany. But I have a friend he just lives across the border.
Yeah. Homeschooling is also illegal. Like, one of the reasons why I'm not living in Germany anymore. That's one of the reasons. Like, once I had my first son, I was like, okay, now sadly my time in Germany is done. Now I need to live. I wanted to live somewhere where there's more sun and where I can be actually free. Like, where I do not have laws about having X vaccinations, where I cannot homeschool, like where I'm not free. Like, that's the reason why I left. It's crazy in Germany, the system. Okay, that's a very, very interesting stance on this topic of vaccinations. Do you think if somebody is vaccinated, either the child, like they had there are 30 vaccinations and maybe they have some immune system issues, some autoimmune issues that they believe stems from this, what would be something they could do? Is there some ways to chelate it, bind it, detox it? What's something good to do?
It's very hard. It's very hard once the body's been poisoned. But we live in an incredible body that's got this inbuilt ability to heal. It's got an inbuilt ability to naturally detox. So it's really just giving the body the right conditions. But Dr. Bruce Fife, in his book, Stop Autism Now, he shows that the coconut oil, it breaks down in the liver to ketones, and ketones are neurohealers. They're also neuroprotectors. So implementing that coconut oil is a great way to help the nervous system to recover, because there are neurotoxins in the vaccines. There's formaldehyde, there's aluminium, and that's why the children having seizures. That's why they're autistic, attention deficit syndrome. It used to be something like one in several thousand. Today it's about 1 in 45. It's crazy. But giving the child the right conditions, the body will naturally recover. So the fat's really important to protect those nerve cells, and stopping those 5 allergen foods. We've seen a 50% improvement in children with autism by stopping those allergen foods, and at the same time coming in with that, supplementing with the coconut oil, putting it in the cooking, in the banana cake, just about everything you could cook, put it in smoothies, even make healthy chocolates. That can do a lot. Also, trampoline is great exercise for children, especially children who have these neurological issues, which unfortunately are common after the vaccine. And maybe common is a absolute word, but I tell you what, in my 27 years of helping people with this, it's alarming how it's just escalating. And that's why I do what I do, Fabian. That's why I don't live in this beautiful mountain home of mine. 9 months of the year I'm away, just blowing the whistle really and saying, hey, you got to start questioning this. You got to have a look at what's going into your body, what's in your children's body. And I guess Big Pharma's not happy about that and has successfully banned me in some places.
But they cannot ban you everywhere and forever. That's the good thing. We still have the opportunity to go away. Before we talk about, because you mentioned trampoline and rebounding and lymphatic exercise, before we go on this topic, because I think it's very underestimated. Besides coconut oil, is there anything else the kids could do? Coconut oil, avoiding the big five allergens. Is there some other supplement, some other fruit, herb that you think is very beneficial for the kid?
Minerals are vital, and so it's important to get them to have that Celtic salt or the Baja salt, that hand harvested sea salt, which has about 82 minerals. Minerals literally glues us together. So the minerals are important. The food highest in minerals are your dark greens. So implementing dark green leafy vegetables. So you're are you in Thailand? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you've got some great greens there, and you do not lose your minerals when you cook your greens. So greens and fruits, implementing the fruits, ideally seasonal, eat the fruit seasonal. When it's seasonal, it's far higher in nutrients. Organic as much as possible. One organic tomato will give 9 times the iron of a conventionally grown tomato. And also protein is very important. As a plant-based lady, my protein comes from legumes, so lentils, chickpeas, lima beans, black-eyed beans. Make sure you soak them, make sure you cook them well, make sure you rinse them well. And nuts and seeds, that's where I get my proteins from.
What nuts specifically do you like and what do you dislike? What do you think is better nut?
The only nut I don't eat is something that's not really a nut at all. That's a peanut.
Peanuts.
But I love macadamias, almonds, Brazils, hazelnuts, and I've had a beautiful dessert in Germany that's almost half ground hazelnuts. They do a beautiful cake with ground hazelnuts. They're all great. Cashews are very nice. Walnuts, great brain food. Pecans. So basically a nice range of them. We've got such a wonderful variety of nuts.
Yeah. Do you soak them and sprout them, or do you also eat them raw?
No, I eat them raw. I think
Raw.
they've got a stronger flavor, which I enjoy, as long as you chew them very well.
Cool. Thank you very much for the answer. As mentioned, regarding the exercise, you started about the trampoline for kids. Can you explain why you believe this is very beneficial?
It's the only exercise that affects every single cell in the body. So when you're jumping on the trampoline or the little rebounder, every single cell is being stimulated and every single cell is being challenged. And whenever a cell is challenged, it adapts and adjusts and gets stronger. So it's great strength building exercise because strength comes by defying gravity. And that's the best exercise for defying gravity.
Cool. If you could only do 3 exercises for the rest of your life, what would that be?
It'd be rebounding. It'd be squats.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'd be push-ups too, to do the upper bodies.
Do you do physical sports? Like, do you do push-ups, squats? Is that...
I do. I aim to do about between 35 push-ups every day. I'm 72, so they're ladies' push-ups. I usually run up and down hills here at Misty Mountain, so I do my high intensity, and when I'm able, I'll do a few minutes on the rebounder, and I always finish with a cold plunge in the creek.
Cool. Interesting. That's nice. The rebounding, would you recommend this to everybody? What do you believe are the most important benefits you get from this?
Well, not only does every cell in the body get affected, and NASA found it's the only form of exercise that prepared their astronauts for outer space. It's the only form of exercise that got their bone and muscle strength back quickly after being out of space.
Cool.
Another system of the body that is stimulated by the rebounder is the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system isn't often talked about. It's the vacuum cleaner system of the body, the system of the body. So it sweeps away waste from the tissues. And earlier we talked about parasites, we talked about bacteria, yeast and fungus, opportunist organisms. So if you can keep this body clean and working well, there's no ground for them to live in our bodies. And so if our vacuum cleaner system, our lymphatic system is being stimulated every day, that's a great contributing factor to health maintenance and also health healing. So someone said to me, I've had knee operation, should I rebound? I said, your knees will tell you. You see, it's getting back to listening. Yeah. So I wouldn't start leaping on the rebounder. I'd start, the health bounce is just jigging up and down. Your feet aren't even easing. So are the knees happy with that? If they're happy with that, do that for a while, then go a little bit more. So it gets back to people listening. And I've had ladies who've got weak bladders, and they say, if I get on the rebounder, I lose a little bit of urine, so I don't do it. I said, well, that's the very muscle that it's strengthening. Just empty your bladder before you get on the rebounder. And again, start slow, and then little by little ease your body up onto it.
Very interesting. So you think the rebounding really is a very beneficial activity, both for strength building, for detoxing the lymphatic system, and everybody could pretty much benefit from it. What is the herbs or the supplements or whatever you would call them that you think everyone should at least think about or have in their home medicine cabinet to use? Could you explain that? I'm very curious myself because I like to use herbs. Like I like to drink lemon water in the morning. I use for bloating peppermint oil. I think there's some things that are just very beneficial. What are your favorites?
I travel with some essential oils. I always travel with the Celtic salt. I always travel with cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper's a great herb. Sore throat, wonderful. Upset stomach, wonderful. Boost digestion, it's great. Great for heart, great for thinning the blood. So the cayenne pepper is an important one. I also travel with a comfrey cream. Comfrey cream, yes, comfrey, Comfrey. Comfrey. It contains a growth stimulant. It stimulates rapid healing in the body. So for little scrapes or scratches or, sore wrists or anything like that, it's very good. I do travel with the peppermint oil. That's a really good one. If you're driving and feeling sleeping, a dose of peppermint oil can wake you up. If you've got an upset stomach, or it certainly can help with a headache, sore throat. So the peppermint oil is a good one. The lavender essential oil is really nice if you want to relax, to go off to sleep, to rub that into your temples. There is a herb called slippery elm. It's the powdered bark of the slippery elm tree, and it coats and soothes the lining of the gut. So I always have that in the cupboard. If someone has an upset stomach or if they have diarrhea, that can coat and soothe it. Charcoal's another one I always have. I travel with charcoal. Charcoal absorbs and neutralizes poison. So, most people that go to Asia, if they take charcoal tablets with them in case they get the barley belly.
Yeah, that's the first thing I took with me when I came to Thailand. I was like, Gamza, we have to get charcoal because you never know what you eat here. So, yeah.
That's right. That's why they say always drink bottled water there. And the charcoal absorbs and neutralizes poison, so it's great for diarrhea, for vomiting, things like that. So I guess that's a quick list.
That's a good cabinet already for many issues that could arrive. We had Celtic salt, cayenne pepper, comfrey, peppermint, lavender, and the charcoal. And I believe I missed something. Not sure. Viewers will tell me. Very interesting. Cool. Barbara, these are like remedies that you can use quickly for quick issues. Is there something you do every day? Like, do you have a morning routine, like lemon water every morning, or I don't know, stretching every morning? What do you do every day? Like
what I do every day, I always have the Celtic salt before every glass of water. I try and have maybe 3 glasses of water before I have breakfast. I usually rise about 5 and eat at 7. I always do stretches. I'm a Christian. I always pray. I always have a Bible reading in the morning. I run up and down hills. I cold plunge. I think cold plunging is one of the keys to being able to keep up the very hectic schedule that I have. No matter where I was in New York a few months ago. Whoa, that water was very, very cold. But I'm not in there for long. I know some people get up to 3 minutes, but I'm only about 48 kilos. I don't have a lot of meat on me, so I can only handle the quick plunges. But I tell you, when you're out and you're putting your dry clothes on, it's almost like you've had an injection of power. So, and then I come back and have more water. If I have lemons, I'll certainly put a squeeze in there. The lemon is a wonderful alkalizer to the body, also a tonic for the liver. And that's my morning routine.
Interesting. You do only the cold plunge, or do you also sauna regularly? Because I know that earlier you said in one sentence that the people that you do the retreats with, they also do the steam sauna.
They do the steam sauna every afternoon, and I did it with them yesterday. My two little grandchildren joined me. They're 7 and 10. They just love it. And we go in the steam sauna and probably for about 10 minutes till you're really, really hot and perspiring profusely. And then our guests go and plunge into our mountain stream and then back into the steam sauna, usually 3 times. It's not something I regularly do because I'm not always able, but if I have the opportunity to, I will.
Sauna is, I'm a huge fan of sauna. Many Germans and many people in the Nordic countries, they are. The first thing I did with my house, I got my own sauna, so we can do sauna.
Yeah.
Sauna even is able to take out microplastics out of the body, which is quite fascinating. So sauna, I'm a big fan of. Interesting. The ice bathing, honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't know. To each their own, I guess. Like you said earlier, everybody has to know their own body and does what feels good to them.
I think it was 2 years ago. I was speaking at a training school in Mittelsen in Germany, and I found a river, and every morning I went and plunged in that river. And yes, it was cold, but I'm not in there long, and I'm just so used to it now. And I found the hardest part is the mind. So I say to our guests, and I did yesterday when we're going down in, I said, he who hesitates is lost. Just plunge in. I don't even think about it now. I just go in and bit of a, but that's all right.
Wake up. That sounds good. Barbara, we just had your morning routine. And I know that earlier you talked, and in many lectures, you also talk about sleep as being one of the most important things you can do for your health. I mean, hopefully most people know that sleep is important. Most people also don't sleep right and don't sleep enough. What do you do in the evening to sleep better?
Well, I eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen. If I do eat at night, it is very, very light and ideally a few hours before I go to bed. So we have our summer time here at the moment, our daylight saving. So I try and be in bed by 9:30 at the latest. 9:30, and I usually wake maybe 5:30. So I aim for 8 hours. In fact, I give people God's perfect mathematical formula: 8 hours to work, 8 hours to play, 8 hours to sleep. And if you're a parent, yes, you got to put that amount of time into playing with the children. I've got grandchildren here at the moment, and we've been playing cricket, we've been playing Uno, we've been climbing trees, we've been on swings, we've been swimming. You know, it's important to have that recreation time. Unfortunately, most recreation is wrecking the body. We want a recreation time. That's true recreation.
Recreation. That's in English. There are some nice words. That's for sure a nice one. Do you use the phone a lot?
No, I don't use the phone a lot. As little as possible. I have WhatsApp, and I love WhatsApp because I travel all over the world and I can have instant contact with my family, but I always turn the phone off at night. I don't have it anywhere near me in my bed. I charge it in another room if I'm charging it overnight. So I'm very mindful of my body's contact to it. I don't do social media at all. In fact, in 2022, when I think it was a niece said, Auntie, you're all over TikTok. I said, what's TikTok? I don't even know what TikTok. I don't know what Facebook is. I don't know what Instagram is. I don't do any of that. I like life. I like speaking to people. I like sewing. I like knitting. I love reading. I just use the phone for simple things and the iPad right now so I can have a Zoom with you. answer a few emails, but I try to keep my exposure to phone very, very short.
I really believe that the phones, they are one of the most harmful things, especially for the youth. Like I think it's bad. Like I've been using my phone for 2 years now. Before that, I didn't have social media. I started social media specifically for talking about health, and I know it wrecked my brain. So and I'm very careful what I'm doing there. So I cannot imagine what people that are 10 hours on their phone every day when they're 14 years old. I think it's a disaster. Yeah.
It is a disaster, and I really stress to parents there must be some regulations in the home. There must be,
Yeah.
because our kids are becoming socially inadequate. Their eyesights are deteriorating. Their brains are not developing as they should. See, the front part of our brain, that's not developed till 30. And in the developing children, it shouldn't be 50 eye brain work, 50 outside. It should be more 80 outside. Our eyes need to have the long range vision, but we're getting overload of the short range vision.
Yeah.
So I don't usually wear glasses, but these glasses, they're just magnification of 2. And I've had these glasses for probably about 40 years now, and they haven't got I haven't got stronger ones because I rarely use them. In fact, I went to get my license recently, and I thought I think I should probably put some glasses on. And the girl said, "Do you usually wear glasses?" I said, "No." She said, "I will take them off." And I did my eye test and I passed. But I wanted to see you clearly, so I put them on for the
That's
interview.
nice.
But and I find that most people they start to get a little bit challenged with what they see. They put glasses on and then then their eyes get lazy.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, when I was young, I was terribly nearsighted. Like, I couldn't see the distance. I was the typical nerd. I was always reading books, always on the computer, playing, like, always this lifestyle. And until I was 25, my eyes, they were deteriorating rapidly. And then I started reading books about how to cure nearsightedness. And I just 1 year ago, I did another test of I never wear glasses anymore. I forced myself. I even started driving no glasses. I had -3, and I forced myself out of this. And they measured me, and now I had minus 0.75 and -1. So I got 2 points better on the spectrum what the optometrist measures, which is crazy. Like I told him, look, this is my old measurement, and he said, no, that's not possible. You can't. You're lying. It's not possible. And I told him, yes, I do exercises every day. Like I blink, I look far away, I look close. I swear it's. He said, no way. We need to. It's crazy. Like, what do I want to say with this? I really think that the epidemic of nearsightedness, we could do something against it. Like you said, looking.
Oh, and absolutely. In fact, you've talked me into taking my glasses.
And also taking them off. I think like optometrists tell us they are not dangerous, but I think they weaken the muscles long term.
They do. They weaken the muscles, and our muscles stop working.
Yeah.
And I had my glasses on to answer emails and to start this. That's the only reason I had them on. But I think I went to an optometrist about 25 years ago. I haven't been to one since. But everything works. I see everything.
Yeah.
It's just fine print. I'll put those on. But
yeah.
I'd say if you look at how often I would have those on in the day, say, we're awake for 16 hours a day, I might have them on all in all for no more than an hour, a bit here and a bit there to see fine print.
Yeah. That's cool. Barbara, I forgot one important question earlier when we were talking about the infant nutrition and about we talked about breast milk, we talked about the vaccinations. One thing I also wanted to talk about was folic acid, because I think I remember I saw you talk about folic acid once. Doctors, they usually recommend it to take it 5 months before the pregnancy, during the pregnancy. What's your stance on folic acid for pregnant women?
Folic acid is toxic.
Ooh, that's bold.
And you can Google and search this out. What pregnant women need is folate. And folate is what is used by the body, and folate is found in dark green leafy vegetables. That's what the pregnant woman should have. So to me, that's easy. That's all I took in my pregnancies. Now, what alarms me is the amount of babies today that are born with tongue tie, lip tie, cheek tie. And so I had my baby, he's 38. So whereas my eldest girl had 6 babies, she'd be 50 this year. We never heard of tongue tie back then. We never heard of lip tie. That didn't happen. And when a baby has tongue tie, lip tie, very hard for them to breastfeed. So this intrigued me. What folic acid does is it interferes with the development of fascia. Fascia is thin balloon-type material that surrounds every muscle, every organ in the body. And so this development of fascia is being interfered with to the point where that fascia develops like a tongue tie, lip tie, cheek tie. It's folic acid.
Crazy.
It is crazy. It is.
That's crazy because it's in like pretty much everybody in Germany is kind of forced to take the...
And I don't know about Germany, but I know in Australia they spray wheat with the folic acid. They put it in supposedly to help us. So all the wheat, number one, the wheat's a problem because of the intensive crossbreeding that was done to it, changing the structure in important nutrients, but also the folic acid. But also it's grown with Roundup. So I believe that, no, it's not the staff of life anymore. It's just about the staff of death.
Yeah. Luckily, in Germany, they don't spray it with synthetic vitamins. They do still spray it with Roundup. We call it glyphosate. And there's a debate for like, I don't know, 15 years where some people are like, it causes cancer. Then others are like, no, it's perfectly fine. In the EU, they don't do anything against it. What the Germans do, they just... in all the cereals, like afterwards, they put the vitamins in the synthetic ones. Like they make it and then they add synthetic B6, synthetic B1, synthetic iron, synthetic this, synthetic that, and sell it to you and tell you now this is better than any plant, than any other food because it has all the vitamins you need 200%. So it's a fantastic food. It's
it makes no sense. And too long the people have put total trust in all of this. And because you know what they think? Oh, they wouldn't do that to us. Well, I'm sorry. As I said before, I think most doctors are ethical, but look at what's behind it. And what's behind it is the money. The pharmaceutical company have made billions out of the COVID vaccine. They've made billions out of these medications. And I'm reading a book called The Selling of Sickness, showing how they're starting to use movie stars, celebrities pushing medications. Why do they need to do that? It's because that's all they've got.
It's a huge scandal. Also during Corona, like they used so many influencers and popular people just to push. They offered like 50K just to say one clip where you say, oh yeah, come on, take your vaccine, it's so good. And that's the end.
That's what's not discussed is how much these people are paid.
Yeah. That's the thing. And I think many people, we all have this high stance, oh, I would never do this. But if somebody rings your door and tells you, hey, I give you 2 million and you just do one thing, 10 seconds, you tell this, I think that's when the true morals are questioned. Then many people are like, okay, 2 million, it's life-changing. Maybe.
It's not life-changing. It's not life-changing. In fact, they've interviewed people who've won the lottery and often without 1 year, it's all gone.
Yeah.
They're back to where they were. No. I can't be bought. I will not be bought. In fact,
I completely agree with you. Like if I would do this, I would also lose my audience. Like the people they know me because I say what I say, and the government hates me. So that's how it is, and I like it. I like it like that. So just to paraphrase, folic acid you're not a big friend of, and you even think it's harmful. You should get your folate from natural sources. Of course, this still means you need to get the folate. Folate is important, but get it in a way that it's good for the body. Are there any supplements do you believe in, or do you just not use any supplements at all?
No, I don't use any supplements at all.
No supplements.
If there's an issue, I might use a herb. As I said, when I broke my arm, I applied comfrey to the arm, but I don't take any supplements. But I do make sure I drink adequate water. I make sure I go to bed early. I exercise every day. I eat as much organic as possible. I eat food in its natural state.
I'm very much with you there. Like these basics are the most important thing. And they also believe that the synthetic petrochemical supplements, they are not the way to go. I think that the herbs. The herbs is where the healing lies.
I've got a friend who has a friend that works in sewage. He said, you would not believe the tablets that come through in the sewage. Now this is chemical and herbal.
Yeah, no, it's true. The last topic I would like to shortly address with you. I don't know if you want to talk about this with you. In Germany, the one of the reasons we got known, like my friend group and me, we made a movement called God's Food, Gottesnahrung, which pretty much it stands for eating natural, like eating real food, eating what God gave us, eating plants, eating whatever grows, and rejecting industrial foods, rejecting pretty much 95% of the supermarket. That's the group we have. In this talk, I heard many times that you're also religious, you're a Christian. Do you think we have an issue with Christianity? Is there too little Christianity? What is a message you would like to tell the people about this?
I think there is too little Christianity. I believe that the God of heaven created our bodies to heal, and he knows how it heals. I believe the best medical book we have is the Bible, and I quote much from the Bible. Leviticus 17:11 says the life of the flesh is in the blood. So it intrigues me. Why does the Bible say that? You see, the blood carries the oxygen, it carries the water, it carries the nutrients. It takes away waste. It has white blood cells. No wonder it's the life of the flesh. But we are the ones that choose how much oxygen it carries by what we breathe. We are the ones that choose how much water it carries by the amount of water we drink. We are the ones that choose if the blood is the life of the flesh because of the food we're eating, or is it the death of the flesh because of the rubbish that the person is eating? That's what I never go sideways, because I say, why would I? I live in a body that works, and it will work when it's given the right conditions. So that's what I do. I give it the right conditions that I believe God should be the central, because he's the creator. He knows how it works. Psalm 104 verse 14, the Bible says God gave herbs for the service of man. I love that verse. The herb basically comes in and says, where do you want me? What would you like me to do? And it's like the cayenne pepper. If it comes into the body and there's bleeding, it'll seal the bleeding blood vessels. But if it comes into the body and the blood vessels are restricted, it'll open them. You see, it's called synergism. It works with the needs of the body. So I believe certainly that God is left out far too much. And God, of course, his aim is that we be the happiest, healthiest people on the planet, that we have peace in our minds. Yeah. And when we have peace, our body works so much better. So physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, I personally believe that God is the answer.
Amen. I also believe this. I like that. That's a good stance. I think the topic religion, it's a very personal one as well. Everybody has to do their own experience. What I don't like is that it gets very much, it sounds paradoxical, but it gets demonized. Like it's cool right now to be very atheist, like to not believe in anything, to just believe in science. And I feel that one of the root conflicts we have is it's not natural foods versus synthetic foods or vaccines versus no vaccines. It's kind of like God versus science that we're still fighting. At least that's my opinion. What do you think?
And yet the incredible thing is God created science, and true science supports what God says. And that's what excites me, because I know that my information must be correct. It must be scientific, but God created the science. And it all merges together in a beautiful picture, like pieces of a jigsaw.
That's a nice statement. Barbara, we talked about most of the topics that I wanted to ask you. And now one last question. Is there something that I should have asked you that I did not ask you? Is there something you would have liked to talk about? Something that's in your heart that's important for health?
I think you've talked on just about everything. But there is one more, and that is introducing food to babies.
Introducing food to babies.
I never gave my babies food because they had no teeth. So babies shouldn't eat till they can sit, feed themselves, and they've got teeth to chew. So my son James, he's late 40s now. He must be about 46, I think. He ate no food till he was 16 months of age.
Interesting.
And I looked at historically, babies were not fed food, but today the authorities are pushing babies to eat food when they've actually got no teeth. So they say puree it up, but then the baby doesn't learn to chew. And I've had mothers say to me, Barbara, since I've been feeding my baby the way you advise, which is a bit later, it's so easy. In fact, I never made baby food, ever.
Crazy. That's interesting.
I'd put my baby on a little high chair when they could sit and they had a couple of teeth. I'd give them a piece of cucumber. I'd give them a piece of apple. I never made baby food because it never made sense to me.
Interesting. This is something I never questioned much. I mean, now that you talk about it, I understand that there's a huge industry with baby food. Like there's a lot of billions made with baby food. Like
Huge industry, and that always puts up alarm bells for me.
yeah.
So Amazing Discoveries have just about finishing translating and printing my new book, Sustain Me. And my new book, Sustain Me, I wrote it in the aim for people to have a handbook on natural remedies. And there's a chapter in there called What Shall I Feed My Baby? And I look at the science behind it, I look at the history behind it, and I look at the reasons why the later our babies eat, the better.
Very interesting. That's something to research for me in the future as well. Very interesting.
Yes.
Cool. Is there something else that many people do wrong with their infants or their babies besides vaccination, breast milk, feeding too early?
I think that all these, what do we call contraptions they have for babies, these baby walkers, terrible things. Babies should be put on the floor almost as soon as they're born, flat, and babies should sleep on their stomachs. My babies always were happy on their stomachs. Or if the babies were upset, I never, ever gave them anything for teething. I just keep them in the sling because they're a little bit upset that day. And I slept with my babies. So I did everything they tell you should not do. And guess what? All my children are doing the same thing to their babies. But, you know, this has been lost of the older handing it down to the younger. Because medicine came in and said, no, you shouldn't feed with your baby. You shouldn't sleep with your baby. You might crush the baby. How could you crush a baby? The baby's here. So a lot of these things, I don't believe we should indulge babies. I don't believe we should be helicopter parents. But I believe that we should allow the babies to explore and go off by themselves. Let them crawl in the grass. Let them play in the water. Fish nearby, but let them discover. And you know, you have the happiest babies when you let them do that. The happiest baby.
I fully agree with you. Like sleeping with babies is super important, and also the sling is the magic cure. Like the baby just wants the presence of the mother and the father. I think it's
very important that they crawl. Crawling is so important. Don't hold their hands and get them to walk before they're walking themselves. No, just let them go. Just let them go.
Just let them go. That's a good last word of advice. Barbara, that was a very interesting talk with you. As mentioned in the beginning, everybody that wants to hear more from you live, you're doing a 5-day or 4-day live event in Berlin from 21st of April until the 25th of April in Berlin. As I said, everybody can book that. It's going to be fascinating to hear you live. And I can recommend everybody to get a ticket for that. Barbara, thank you very much for this great talk. I think this was one of the most interesting podcasts I did in a very long time. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I wish you all the best for all your children, grandchildren. I wish you all the best for your retreat and lots of good health. And I hope that one day maybe we can talk again. Thank you very much, Barbara.
Thank you, Fabian.
Thank you.